All right, does everybody have the notes from yesterday? I'm assuming Caleb and Matt don't.
I have. I do got the notes from yesterday.
You do? Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did anyone else need the notes by chance? No? All right.
I need them.
Thank God. But Caleb, you're sure you have them? You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, that's. You got the other team. I got that. I think I got them.
Okay, are we good?
Is it the same notes as yesterday?
Wait, are we turning?
I think so.
Are we turning?
Oh, yeah, good question. Do you guys want to just add today's assignment onto that?
Yes.
Yeah, just do that. Just do that. Okay. So today's problems, we'll just add on to yesterday's problems and turn it in as one assignment. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I wonder if we did this.
That was dots. What do you got?
All right. So we are going to start on example 3. So if you guys would all look here.
Can we open 2 examples?
So what we're gonna do is try to factor this bottom first. So if we were factoring this, if these are both minus, what would my 2 signs be? Plus and minus. Okay. And then I'd have a y and a y. And can you guys think of 2 factors of -10 that add up to -3?
Y minus 5.
Y plus 2.
Okay. All right. So now, do you guys see that your least common multiple would be y plus 2 times y minus 5?
Yeah.
So, brother.
Right? All right. Now, what would not y not be able to equal?
2 or 5.
Negative 2 or 5.
-2 or +5. Very good. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that least common multiple, the y plus 2 times y minus 5, and we're gonna multiply that by each of these terms separately. So y over y plus 2 plus y plus 2 times y minus 5 times 7 over y minus 5 equals y plus 2 times y minus 5 times 14 over y plus 2 times y minus 5. Okay, and now when I go in and cross things out, do you guys get that I can cross out these y plus 2's? And I would be left with y times y minus 5. Then here, I can cross out the y minus 5's, and I'd be left with 7 times y plus 2. And then over here, I can cross out the y plus 2 as well as the y minus 5, and that would equal 14. Okay, so now I can distribute here. So y times y is y squared. Y times a -5 is -5y. 7 times y is 7y. And 7 times 2 is 14. And that equals 14. Now what I'm going to do is combine these middle 2 terms. And I get y squared. What's -5y plus 7y? Plus 2y. And what do you guys think would happen if I tried to bring this 14 over? Wouldn't I subtract it? And wouldn't my 14s be gone? Do you get that? Okay, so this would equal 0. Now, what we would have to do there is factor that if we can. And can you guys tell that we can take out a common factor of that? Y, right? And I'd look at y times what would give me y squared. Wouldn't that be y? And y times what gives me 2y is 2. And that equals 0. Okay. Now, the last thing you're going to do is solve that. So basically what you're doing is you're setting y equal to 0. That's one, you're setting this equal to 0. So that's one of your answers. And then if you had y plus 2 equals 0, what would that answer be? -2. Now what you have to remember today is to go up here and see what it can't be, because sometimes it will be one of those. And one thing that I think one of your assignments, one of your questions in your homework today is empty set is what it says. It looks like this, if you see that in the book. That just means no solution. So say that we got an answer that was up here. Say we got just y equals -2, and it can't be that. Just write no solution, okay? The book might have it like this, but it's the same idea. So do you guys get I can't use this one? So my answer is y equals 0, okay? Now, if we go to this next page here, there are 2 ways today that you can get no solution. One is if your answer makes the denominator 0, which is what we've been talking about already with the excluded values. The second is if you can't factor an equation and you use your quad program and your answer is a complex number. What that means is your answer is going to have an I in it. Now, some of you, I worked on the quad program after school yesterday, and I know there was some of you, like Dan was one, some others that had where your calculator would say like quit or go to. You know what I'm talking about? And so, oh yeah, Kelsey, you were one. When that happens, when your calculator does that, if your calculator worked for the first example we did, but it didn't work for the second example, when you get that to happen to your calculator, just know that that means you have a complex number and there's no solution, okay? So some of your calculators are going to give the complex group. Some calculators, like I was looking at some of them, and some on the top, when you get that, says non-real answer. And then it'll say below it, like number 1, quit, number 2, go to, okay? This non-real answer just means that your answer is complex, so you know that that's going to be one that has no solution, okay? So I think you guys can still use the program you have. You just would have to know that that means there's no solution. So if we look at this one right here, I'm going to factor this z squared minus 1. And do you guys know how to, what would that be when I factored it? Isn't that differences squared? Do you get that? So what would it be? Z plus 1 and z minus 1, okay? That's going to be my LCM. So what can z not equal then? -1 and 1, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that LCM, z plus 1 times z minus 1, and I'm going to multiply it by each term. And also, you guys, change this minus to plus and change that to a -1, okay? So we have 2 over z plus 1, and then I'm going to go plus z plus 1 times z minus 1 times this term I'm going to write as -1 over z minus 1. equals, and then my LCM again is z plus 1 times z minus 1 times negative 2 over z plus 1 times z minus 1. So, okay, once I get that, then I can go in and cross out. So here I can cross out my z plus 1s. So I have 2 times z minus 1. Here I can cross out my z minus 1s. So I'm actually going to have a negative 1 times z plus 1. And then over here, my z plus, what was that? These cross out as well as these cross out, and it's equal to negative 2. So now I'm going to distribute, and I get 2z minus 2. Here when I multiply by a negative 1, I get negative z minus 1 equals negative 2. Now, 2z minus z is z. Negative 2 minus 1 is minus 3, and that equals negative 2. And then I'm going to add 3, and what we get then is z equals 1. And if you look up here, z can't be 1, so that is correct. We have no solution. Okay. All right, now let's look at this one because this is different. This one's different. First of all, this is one of those that you guys don't really like to factor because it has a 2 in front of there. But I'll give you guys a hint. Do you see here how you have a y minus 5 and a 2y plus 1? Chances are that's going to be what this breaks down to. So you could use those two and then check if it works or not. How you would do that is kind of FOIL it out. 2y times y is 2y squared. 2y times a negative 5 is negative 10y. 1 times y is plus 1y. And 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. So would you get 2y squared minus 9y minus 5? You would, right? You guys get that? All right, so that is going to be my LCM. Now, what can y not equal if it's 2x plus 1? If you were to solve this, wouldn't you subtract 1? And you'd get 2y cannot equal negative 1, divide by 2. Isn't it that y cannot equal negative 1/2? And then what can't y equal here? Positive 5. Okay. Now, let's go and do this where we multiply by 2y plus 1 times y minus 5 on each term. So it's 2 over y minus 5 plus 2y plus 1 times y minus 5 times y minus 1 over 2y plus 1 equals, my LCM is 2y plus 1 times y minus 5 times 2 over 2y plus 1 times y minus 5. Okay. Now I can go in and cross things out. So here my y minus 5s cancel, and I'm left with 2 times 2y plus 1. Here my 2y's plus 1 cancel, and here I'm left with y minus 5 times y minus 1. Here my 2y's plus 1 cancel, and y minus 5's cancel, and I'm left with 2. Okay. Now, here, I'm going to distribute the 2, and I get 4y plus 2. You guys remember what you do with something like this? FOIL. So first is y times y, which is y squared. Outside is y times minus 1, which is negative 1y. Inside is negative 5y. And outside, what's a negative 5 times a negative 1? Plus 5. And do you guys get, if I bring this 2 over to the other side, that it would be a negative 2? Does everybody understand that? Okay. So now if we look, I always put my y squared first. So let's do that. So this is gone. What's 4y minus 1y minus 5y? 4y minus 1y is 3y. 3y minus 5y is minus 2y, correct? Then do you guys get plus 2 and minus 2 cancel? So you're left with plus 5. Okay. So now when you look at that, that's going to be one that you should right away think of factoring. Okay? And you guys could try to factor that. You know, you try to find 2 factors of 5 that add up to a negative 2. And they both have to be negative. Okay? And is there 2 factors of 5? Both that are negative that add up to a negative 2? There are not. Okay, so what that means, this can't be factored. When they can't be factored, okay, that is when, first we're going to put it into our quad program to make sure of that. Is that your calculator? Okay, so everybody take out their calculators, hit program, okay? Go down to quad, okay? Okay, now when you guys get to quad, do you remember how you do input A, B, and C? And what is A? A is what's in front of your y squared. A is 1. What is your B? Negative 2. And what is C? 5. So now what, does it come back to where you have lists of 1 to 7 again? Yeah. Go down to zeros. Hit enter, and some of you may have where it actually shows you a root that has an I in it. That means it's a complex root, it's imaginary, it does not exist, okay? Some of your calculators have that non-real answer, that would tell you it too, okay? So when you get that and it says that it's complex, your answer is just no solution. What I say? No solution. And it's because you got a complex root, which means that you have an imaginary root. A complex root is like 5 plus 2i. It's called complex because it has a real part and an imaginary part. Okay? Are you guys good with that? All right, now let's go to, we're going to do 3 word problems and then we'll be done. But these word problems go pretty fast. I'm serious. Okay. So what's going to happen in these is for anything that you have that's like swimming or in a river, you're going to set up a chart where you have distance, speed, and time. Do you guys all remember distance equals rate times time? Okay. With these problems, you're going to set that up, and you're going to have one thing where you're swimming, this person's swimming with the current, and one where she's swimming against the current. And then you just go ahead and look. It says Lily swims in her stream, and when the water is still, she can swim at an average speed of 2 miles per hour. Okay? So her speed is 2 miles per hour. We're going to say that X is the average speed of, or average rate of the current. When you are swimming upstream, is that rate of the current helping you or hurting you? Hurting you. So her speed when she's going upstream is 2 minus the speed of the current, which is X. Okay? When she is going, no, these are wrong, sorry. I'm going to switch this. When you're going upstream, you're going against the current. And when you're going downstream, you're going with the current, sorry. Okay, now down here, when she's going downstream, do you guys get that that current's going to help her? And it's going to be 2 plus X. Okay? Now, it says she leaves her dock, and it takes her a total of 6 hours to swim upstream 4 miles and downstream 4 miles. So do you guys get her distance upstream is 4 and her distance downstream is 4? Okay. So now, time on these problems, time is distance divided by rate. So we would take her distance, which is 4, divided by her rate, which is 2 minus X. This is the time that she is swimming upstream. For her time that she's swimming downstream, it's also distance divided by rate. So it's 4 over 2 plus X. Okay. Now when you go to write the equation for this, this is her time upstream, this is her time downstream. What should they add up to as far as time? How long did she swim? 6, right? So our equation would be 4 over 2 minus X plus 4 over 2 plus X has to equal 6 hours. What do you think our LCM for this is? Yep, 2 minus X times 2 plus X. What would our X not be able to equal? 2 minus what would give us 0? 2, and then 2 plus a negative 2 would be 0. So X can't be 2 and X can't be a negative 2. So now we're going to do this just like we did the previous problem. So we're going to take 2 minus X times 2 plus X and multiply it by the 4 over 2 minus X. Then we're going to take 2 minus X times 2 plus X and multiply it by 4 over 2 plus X. And then we're going to take 2 minus X times 2 plus X and multiply it by 6. Okay. Am I going too fast? So would you guys know now that you can cross these out? And you would get 4 times 2 plus X. Then I can cross these out, and I would get plus 4 times 2 minus X. And now here, I would have 6 times, and here, do you guys get I'd have to FOIL this? Let's actually do that right away. I would go 2 times 2, which is 4, and then outside would be 2 times a positive X, which is plus 2X. Inside would be negative 2X, And then last would be negative x times x, which is minus x squared. Okay. Now I have to distribute over here. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times the negative x is minus 4x. And then do you guys get inside here? Wouldn't these two cancel? So you could cancel them right there and then go 6 times 4 is 24 and 6 times the negative x squared is minus 6x squared. Okay. Now what happens to my 4x minus 4x? Cancel. 8 plus 8 is 16, okay? And that equals 24 minus 6x squared. So if I wanted to keep this where it's at and bring my numbers to the other side, do you guys get that I would subtract 24? 16 minus 24 is a negative 8. Then I would divide by a negative 6. Negative 8 divided by negative 6. If you guys did that, it's like 1, it's 4/3, so 1 1/3. So it would be like 1.333 repeating. Okay. That equals x squared. What do you guys do then to get rid of x squared? Square root. So do you want to do that? Take the square root of 1.33333. Anyone got that? 1.45? 1.55. And x was the rate of the current. So it's probably miles per hour. It doesn't? Okay. So 1.155? So like 1.16 kind of, right? And it's miles per hour. Everybody okay with that? Okay, 2 more.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to go tell this person that she was failing at one point?
No, you're just calling that
I
out
wanna
for the
call
fun
her.
of it.
I wanna tell her.
Okay, so
She's swimming for 6 hours. She's gonna be a little girl.
all right. So this one is talking about building a shed, and it says the carpentry 1 class can build a shed in 16 hours. Okay, so the carpentry 1 class would have a rate of 1 per 16. So what that means is 1 shed per 16 hours. Okay, the carpentry 2 class can build a shed in 12 hours. So their rate is 1 shed per 12 hours. And what they want to know is how long would it take them if they worked together? So X is the amount of time up here, I defined it. X or T is the time for the 2 classes together to build the shed. So that would be 1 over X, okay? So carpentry 1 class is 1 over 16. Carpentry 2 class is 1 over 12. And their combined rate is 1 over X. So what we would do to solve this is we would take the carpentry 1 class, we'd add the carpentry 2 class rate, and we'd set it equal to 1 over X. So these are easier to solve. Now, when you're deciding your LCM, I take my highest number, which is 16, and I do multiples of it until I find one that 12 goes into. 12 doesn't go into 16. 16 times 2 is 32. Does 12 go into 32? And then it's 48. Does 16 go into 48? Yes. So our LCM is 48, and then I'd also need the X. That's my LCM. So what could X not equal? 48 times what would give us 0? Yeah, so X just can't be 0. Okay, so now if we go back here, we are going to multiply everything by 48X. Oops, equals. All right. Now, if I look at this, do you guys know how many times 16 goes into 48? 3 times. So I can cross that out and make this a 3. So you'd really just have 3x. How many times does 12 go into 48? 4. So you'd have 4 times x times 1, which is 4x. And then here your x's cancel. So you would just have 48. Now, 3x plus 4x is 7x. And then you can divide by 7. And x is 6.86. Does that make sense? If one class can build a shed in 16 hours and one can 12, would they together, does that make sense if it was 6.86? Certainly should be less than those two, correct? Now let's go to the last one. This one we maybe will just set up and not solve. So here's what it says. Every year, the junior and senior classes at Hillcrest High School build a house for the community. If it takes the senior class 24 days, do you get that their rate would be one house in 24 hours, so it'd be 1 over 24? And then it says, and it takes the senior class 18 days if they work with the junior class. So the combined rate of the two classes takes them 18 days. So do you get this would be 1 over 18? And when they did it by themselves, it was 1 over 24. Okay? And what they want is how long would it take the junior class to complete the house if they worked alone? We're going to let that just be J. So their rate is 1 over J or 1 over X or whatever. And then would you guys know that you could go 1 over 24 plus 1 over J equals 1 over 18? And would you guys know how to solve that?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody okay with that? So your assignment is this. So this will just add on to yesterday's, okay? Oh, you guys, if your calculators go to that 2 decimal thing, you know what I mean? Do mode and then go down one where it says float and hit enter on float. And then you can go second quick to get out of that, and it won't do the 2 decimals. You want that one set on float, but for some reason that program puts your calculator into that. Oh, do you need the book?
Oh, no, I was just, okay.
I'll open up this book to where the answers are too.
I tried all the new today, I can only get 5 to work. The other 4 it doesn't work.
I don't know. Want me to try to look under it?
No, every time you have an X on each side, what do I, like on that one I got down to, I had 32 x minus 3 plus 168, and then I had x plus 3